We're going to look at the French newspapers now. Olivia Salazar-Winspear is with me here on set. You're starting off with this story which has been in all the newspapers here in France, and they're continuing to talk about it, aren't they? This story in Italy about scientists sentenced to 6 years in prison for failing to predict the earthquake.
Yes, this is the earthquake in L'Aquila in Italy in 2009, of course, that we're talking about. The conviction has come through, like you say, they're going to prison for 6 years, and La Croix, the Catholic daily in France, is really quite upset about this decision. They're headlining on the fact that it really raises a few important questions in terms of the meeting of science and the law. They obviously think it's very unjust decision. They have an editorial saying that the scientific community across Europe is totally in shock about what's happened, that this is a dangerous precedent which discredits scientific opinion in favour for this kind of retributory attitude, an eye for an eye, trying to get something back when you've lost something, which could silence professionals who'll be too scared of voicing their opinion. Now, Le Figaro, like you said, is also covering this. They've got an editorial actually that really tackles this litigation culture. They give the example, which is very funny actually, of a group of real estate agents in the US tried to sue a seismologist in Los Angeles because he predicted earthquakes, which they said made property prices go down. So of course, they're saying this is a danger. We shouldn't be shutting up scientists. We should be listening to them more.
Okay, and there's some French stories in the papers as well. The Mohamed Merah story in France is the string of murders in Toulouse, of course, earlier this year.
Yes, now this is the young man who, like you say, killed 7 people around the Toulouse area earlier this year. The Interior Minister, Manuel Valls, had ordered an investigation as to what went on around this case, how the police handled it, and if they did it efficiently enough. That report was published yesterday. It's a 17-page document. Le Parisien are taking a look at what it reveals. There were failings on the part of the police. That's what it reveals. Basically, this article underlines what some of these failures were, and notably the fact that the police did have a file on this young man. They'd been surveying him since 2006 for his connections to extremists. But, unbelievably, that file had been lost sometime in 2010, so he wasn't under surveillance anymore. That meant that in 2011, when he made a trip to the Afghan-Pakistan border, that wasn't logged as a sensitive or suspicious journey. And that's something that the article brings up, that trips overseas in the context of more surveillance around terror suspects and possible terrorist activity should be really better watched.
Okay, you've got a good battle of the sexes for us as well. This is the European Central Bank, men and women fighting out for the top jobs. Well,
what's new here? Men and women not getting the same jobs in big institutions. Well, this is quite an interesting story, actually. There's a top job up for grabs at the ECB. That this man here, he's the director of Luxembourg's central bank, is tipped to take the position, but many people say he won't get it because he's a man. Now, this is because the ECB really wants to realign the balance of the male-female composition of their staff, which some critics say is absolutely disastrous. It's totally male-dominated. Of course, people are saying that if he doesn't get the job, it will just be tokenism to name a woman just to try and make amends. And the ECB, of course, isn't the only culprit. As we know, women don't have the same opportunities as men at top-level jobs. Libération takes up that issue, listing all of the institutions where women are losing out, or what they call the institutions that have totally failed when it comes to gender equality. They do highlight that French MEP Sylvie Goulard is also in the running for this job at the ECB, but she probably won't get it.
Okay, we're all right. We've got one male, one female boss. Hopefully that's not too bad.
Here.
Very fair, very fair. And finally, Germans. They could save some money, apparently, if you're German. Listen to this. If you slim down.
Yeah, another money story from La Tribune. It's not quite money lifestyle. A German MP from Bavaria, home of some very robust dishes, you might say, says
really
that
nice.
He's worried about rising obesity levels in Germany and the cost that will involve for the health service in the coming years. And so he said that people who follow a medically supervised diet and manage to lose some pounds if they're fighting against obesity might have their social security payments reduced because they're not proposing a threat anymore.
Okay, well, that's probably good for half of us and not so good for the other half. All right, Olivia, thanks very much. Olivia Salazar-Winspear with the French papers here on France 24.